Well then, I guess life in the MLS really does come at you fast. St. Louis City SC lose 2-1 to the Portland Timbers at City Park this weekend. And I guess you could say it's revenge because when we played them earlier this season, it was the exact same scoreline in our favor in their building. So I guess we're all even, Portland. So, before the game started, obviously we had found out last weekend that João Klaus was going to be out for about 2 weeks for the team. So we knew coming into this game it was going to be a little bit of a different formation maybe, different players playing in a few different roles, obviously because our main striker is out. So I was very intrigued to see how that was going to look. When the lineup sheets came out, looked like City was going for a 4-2-3-1 with Miggy Perez and Indiana Vassilev playing the 6 roles, the defensive midfield role, with Leuven as an attacking mid, Stroud and Alm on either side on the wings, Joaquini up top. Didn't really expect much else. I mean, this is a pretty solid team going forward. And then obviously the back 4 on the defensive line and Roman Berkey in goal have all stayed the same pretty much throughout the whole season, barring any injuries. Portland's lineup came out, and it was the exact same formation of 4-2-3-1. So this game was definitely going to be fought in the middle of the midfield. Yeah, that's a good sentence, Drake. The middle of the midfield, because with how many players on either side just going to be stuck in the middle, it seemed like St. Louis's best opportunity was to try and get the ball out wide, maybe whipping some crosses or get some kind of play interconnecting with wingers and midfielders on the outsides of the field. So after that, obviously the game starts. And if I had to sum up the whole first half in one word, it would be boring. This was a snooze fest. There were a couple of chances back and forth. Unfortunately for the Portland player, I believe his name is Ayala. I think I'm saying that right. I hopefully am. He does something to his knee. I don't know if he tore a ligament or something happened to him, but he fell down around the 30-minute mark, I believe. Maybe it was a little bit before that. Had to get stretchered off. Obviously hoping he's okay. Want to win every single game, but don't want to do it at the expense of Portland players getting hurt. And Portland's been having injuries before the season even began, so this was just another blow to them. But yeah, the whole first half, there were a couple of half chances going back and forth. There really wasn't anything going on. Portland had the ball of the majority of the first half. I think when the halftime numbers came in, it was pretty even. But after about the first 20 minutes, Portland had possession. It was about 70-30. So obviously St. Louis plays without the ball. They want to press and counterattack is their main form of scoring goals. But that was a bit extreme. And yeah, that, like I said, boring first half. Is just excited to get on to the second half, which doesn't come without some controversy, that's for sure. So halftime comes and goes. St. Louis City doesn't get a single shot on goal in the first half, which was a little bit worrying. I didn't think that we really deserved it, considering at the halftime they pull up the stats. The expected goals was like 0.3 something to 0.2 something in favor of Portland. So my statement of boring first half really was pretty true, unfortunately. But halftime comes and goes. Second half gets underway, and Portland comes out of the gates flying in the second half. Even in the first 5 minutes, a couple of good chances for them, corner or two as well. Luckily, City keeps the ball out of their net, but I don't know what exactly it was that Portland did. They didn't make any substitutions or anything at halftime either, but they just came out in the second half ready to play, and we clearly did not. So from here on in, things started to get a little bit more interesting, started building and building and building. 52nd minute, ball comes into the box for City, trying to score. Ball bounces around a little bit. Edu Leuven gets a foot on the ball, pushes it just wide though. A little bit of a nice build-up play. I think there was a couple of deflections in there as well. Leuven gets a good shot on it, but just barely pulls it wide. I think the keeper would have made a save on it anyway, but hey, shots towards the net is always a good thing, right? A couple of minutes later, in the 54th minute, Portland have some sort of a half rush almost. Kyle Hebert gets stuck up a little bit, kind of pushes up without the rest of the defensive line, so it's almost like 3 defenders are behind Hebert. A couple of passes get pushed in. Moreno gets the ball, and he has a shot from about 8 yards out, but Berkey makes himself look absolutely massive, comes up with a huge save, and the ball gets cleared away. Moments after that happens, Tomas Ostrak comes on the field in place for Miggy Perez, and once he comes off, Edward Leuven kind of takes his spot from the number 10, drops back to where Miggy Perez was as sort of a defensive midfielder. That allows Ostrak to be more of an attacking midfielder. I really liked this move. I thought that Miggy, just because of his size, he's not really that big. He just turned 18 this past week, and he just isn't all that big. So nothing against him. I just think that his size is kind of not boding well for him if he wants to play more of a defensive midfield role. So when Ostrak comes in, lets Leuven drop back into the 6 spot along with Vasilev. I thought that was a very good move. And fresh legs up top with Ostrak in there as well. I thought this was a great move. Then about 10 minutes go by, not much else happening, and then all of a sudden, Portland gets awarded a penalty. Cross comes in, Berkey and Nelson both try to go for it at the same time. Unfortunately for Nelson, he slips and falls, and as he's falling, his arms kind of fall on top. It doesn't, on replays, the ball doesn't really look like it hits his hands, but because both of his arms kind of go around the ball as he's falling, especially from the main camera as we were watching it live, and the referee kind of had a similar line from where the camera was, obviously, except he was on the field. It looked like Nelson's arm was definitely touching the ball as he was falling, so I think as it was happening, it was a good call. Looking at replay, I'm not really too sure. I don't think it was a penalty, if I'm honest. You're looking for abnormal spots where your arms are to look at handballs. Now, I'm definitely more in favor of if it hits your arm, it hits your arm. It doesn't really matter where it is. But because Nelson's falling, like he's trying to break his fall over trying to play the ball is what it looked like to me. Just because he slipped and fell, he was off balance. He's just trying to save himself from getting hurt. I don't hate the call, but I don't like the call just because when you looked at I would have at least liked the ref to look at it from VAR. I would have liked them to call down and have the guy at least look at it. But penalty gets awarded. Evander does a couple quick steps right before he shoots the ball, puts it bottom right. Portland takes a 1-0 lead, and I don't really know if it was deserved or not. Portland definitely looked the better team to start the second half, like I mentioned before. But after that first 5-10 minutes, wave came through, and we made the substitution. At the very least, it was a lot more even. St. Louis might have even been outplaying Portland at this point, but the boys go down 1-0 with about 25 minutes to go. A couple of minutes after the goal, Eziel Jackson and Pompeo come on the field in place for Jared Stroud and Nico Giacchini. I thought both of these guys played absolutely amazing in the Open Cup game over the week. They definitely deserve some minutes here, and it's going to prove deservedly so here in just a minute. But again, can't really complain with the moves. I thought Stroud had an absolutely great game. I thought Giacchini was just struggling to kind of get into the role that Jacques Claus has been playing the last few games. I don't think he played bad, but just because it was a different role for him, he was more of a holding striker more than trying to run off and make plays. If he has to play like this for the next few games before Klaus comes back, I think he'll eventually get it. It just didn't look like it was clicking for him tonight. And then in the 79th minute, the substitutions pay off. Rasmus Alm has the ball on the right-hand side of the field, plays a nice ball into Tomas Ostrak, who takes it all the way down to the goal line, cuts back, passes it to Celio Pompeo, who absolutely roofs it from about 5 yards out to bring this game back even at 1 apiece. This was great build-up play. You could tell just by the size of our guys now with the subs made that crosses weren't really going to do it. Their center backs were a lot bigger than our strikers and our attackers, so the only way to kind of cut through the defense is just that, cut through them with nice passes, and this play was a perfect example of all of that. Boys come even 1-1. But unfortunately, 3 minutes later, the Timbers get back on the score sheet. Moreno with an absolutely great run. I mean, fair play to him. Cuts through the defense. He starts about at the halfway line and just goes all the way through to about the top of the box. Lays the ball off to Chara, who hits it one time into the bottom left corner of Berkey's net. And it was a great play. I mean, Berkey was absolutely cemented to the floor when the shot came off just because it looked so far away. Might have even gone wide. There was a defender or two kind of blocking his view as well. And the defense just got caught a little bit is really all it was. I mean, the high press and pressing in certain areas is going to do that to you eventually. I've said it from the beginning. I feel like we're going to lose a game or two just because we're pressing at the wrong times. Maybe not even at the wrong times, but the opponent is able to break that press and just score a great goal. And that's what happened here. And with less than 10 minutes to go, Portland goes back up, scored 2-1. Right after the goal scored, before play even starts again, Jake Nerwinski and Rasmus Alm come off in place for Isak Jensen and Akil Watts. Now, I didn't necessarily hate these moves either. They were a little confusing. I can only imagine that it was because these two guys were a little bit tired. I mean, Alm obviously helped set up the goal. Jake Nerwinski, I mean, I don't think he had a bad game per se. It might have just been because they were both tired. I mean, Nerwinski flies up and down the right-hand side of the field. So, yeah, could only assume he was gassed. But didn't hate the moves because I like the fresh bodies on right after we concede, trying to push for an equalizer again. So, with less than 10 minutes to go, a couple of changes made. City pushing for an equalizer. And then the other controversial bit of the game happened right before the extra time board goes up. St. Louis City is attacking. Ball gets played in, kind of half chip, half pass. Deflects off a Portland Timbers player's arm, and before anyone can say anything, the linesman has his flag up for an offside. Now, when you look at the replay, when the pass was made, yes, there was about 2 or 3 guys for City that were offside, and that's where the ball was heading, is in that direction of where those guys were. So it is offside, but, I mean, the guy, he's got his arm out like this, and when the pass gets played in, it hits his arm somewhere around right here. And I just don't know. I'm not a ref, so I don't know what the right call is here, but, like, it hits off of his arm, but it was offside, so, like, it's almost like a double negative. So I don't know if that means you call the offside because that's the more obvious call, or you just kind of let play go because after that ball deflected off of his arm, it went straight to the goalie. So you could have just been like, both of them negate each other, let's keep going. I don't know, but what I do know is the stadium absolutely hated that. You could hear boos ringing down for the last 5 minutes of the game. I don't know. It's a tough one. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think if gun to my head I had to pick, I'd say let the offside go, like it was the correct call. But obviously I'm going to go for appeal for a handball every single time. So let me know what you guys think. But after all that commotion happened, Portland just drained the rest of the clock. Full-time whistle goes. St. Louis City with their 3rd defeat of the season, moving their record to 6-3-1. Fall to Portland Timbers, 2-1. So the main takeaways from this game for me would be, obviously, number one, headline, João Klaus, please get healthy. Because this team, they're just so unfamiliar with the new system without Klaus coming in, with only one striker up top and it not being Klaus. You got to keep that familiarity. I want him back as soon as we can. Secondly, I think we should have switched Miguel Perez and Edward Leuven with each other as soon as we possibly could have. Once Ostrak comes onto the field and Leuven drops back, I felt like we played a lot better defensively, just because Miggy is just, he's more attack-minded in itself, and then you mix that with his size. I feel like he's just not quite ready for that role. I think he can be, absolutely, but for now, I think he should have been more of an attacking role. So that's just the only real change before the subs came on is what I would have done. And I think we eventually figured it out, especially getting proven with the goal, but because both teams kind of played the same formation and there was just so many bodies there in the midfield, the wing play was just absolutely crucial, and we just could never figure it out. We would be able to play the ball out wide, and when we'd look to get crosses into the box, you'd be lucky to have one guy in the box, and then obviously the cross has to find a specific spot, and it's just not able to. So those are kind of the main takeaways from the game for me. Obviously, the officiating with both the handball calls, St. Louis fans are not going to like. There were a lot of other kind of small things that happened. One of Portland's players would shove one of our guys, ref wouldn't call it. Vice versa would happen, they would call a foul against us. I don't know. I'm biased, so I could have missed a lot of things that Portland fans should have been complaining about them being fouls against them. So, it is what it is. We move on to the next weekend, and hopefully we can just bounce back. We haven't looked bad following a loss, so looking forward to next week. So there you have it. There's my reaction to the match day 10 result of St. Louis City, Portland Timbers. Boys obviously fall 2-1, unfortunately, but hopefully we can bounce back next week in Dallas and come away with the 3 points there. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. Let me know in the comments as well of anything that you thought should have changed, or any of your opinions in the comments below. And if you really liked the video, hit the subscribe button. Tell all your friends as well. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, I will catch you guys later.